How's your collection coming along?
Well, I don't mean to brag.
I want to watch
it's
this
pretty
for a bit.
gay.
On September 30th,
I watched through a bit of this on stream before, but let's start from the beginning.
2010, Valve released an update to their flagship online multiplayer shooter, Team Fortress 2.
What the hell is that?
Valve released an update to their flagship.
Dude, I remember when I played Counter-Strike Source and everyone just had porn sprays. Like legit
Online multiplayer shooter, Team
straight
Fortress
up
2.
like
Nobody
penetration
realized
or
it
like
at the
spread
time,
ass.
But this update
It
was
was
going to be
just
so influential that it arguably transformed the core business.
my favorite part of the game, honestly.
Following decade. TF2's Manconomy update introduced what was then a radical concept. Players can now purchase cosmetic items through in-game microtransactions, but more importantly,
What an
they can now
amazing
trade those
leap
items
for
among
humanity.
themselves. Almost overnight, the update ignited a robust free market economy of virtual items, and no items were more valuable than unusual hats. Valve would go on to make a fortune off of TF2's new trading bonanza, an outcome that would ultimately convince them to make the game free to play less than a year afterwards. And despite the variety of items for sale on TF2's storefront, the bulk of Valve's revenue would come instead from what you couldn't purchase.
Yo, break it down for those crepes!
In the very same update, Valve introduced the gaming industry's original Loot Crate, an unlockable mystery box with a 1% chance of granting the player an unusual hat, items so comically ostentatious that they would instantly catapult you to the center of attention on any server you joined. Unusuals were desired by all, but obtainable by few. The only way to get your hands on one was to spend hundreds of dollars on boxing or to
Like, is there
trade
anyone
with
in the
someone
chat
who
that like
spent
still
hundreds of
plays
dollars
this
in
game?
boxing. Naturally, this meant that unusual hats didn't come cheap. The
Or
most
even played it a
coveted
lot in the
hats and
past?
particle effects started to sell for thousands, and eventually, one item ascended to the holy grail of TF2 trading. The Burning Flames Team
1400
Captain,
hours. Oh my
the
god.
only TF2 item to consistently sell for 5 figures. Ever since this hat was added, it has reigned supreme as the single most desirable item in the game. Out of the hundreds of millions of items in TF2's economy, only 8.
Okay. This is like a bit of a random ass question, but if you did play this game for a lot of hours, what made you quit? I feel about this in League too. It's like, okay, well, you know, it's pretty boring. Most of the time the answer is just I got tired of the game. I found another game that I liked more. Not enough time, whatever. I feel about League as well.
Burning Flames team captains exist.
Got into League.
If you happen to be in the market of obtaining one, it's gonna cost you a pretty penny. Most of you watching are probably recoiling in disgust at how much someone would be willing to pay for a virtual item that you didn't even know existed 20 seconds ago. Why would somebody spend $16,000 on a bunch of worthless pixels?
Because
Well,
they're rich.
conceptually, unusual hats are nothing new. It turns out that plenty of people are willing to fork over a lot more than 16 grand on items that the rest of us would consider worthless. A few years after bringing the joy of crates to TF2, Valve decided to double down on this business model in their newest shooter, CSGO. This game took TF2's economy and put it on steroids. Compared to unusual hats' 2 degrees of variation, CSGO weapon skins may differ in quality, wear, kill trackers, and stickers, which greatly influence the item's overall value. Ideal versions of all these variables can drive the prices of top CSGO items into the 6-figure mark. The most expensive item ever sold in the game incorporates an additional variable of rarity. The AK-47's case-hardened skin is far from the most expensive on average. However, pattern number 661 is prized by collectors for its uniform blue top. In addition to this 1 in 1,000 attribute, an AK-47 with minimal wear, a stat tracker, and 4 holographic Titan stickers sold for $150,000 earlier this year.
Imagine you spend 150k on this skin. What are you fucking doing in the game? Like, do you guys think that these guys are like actually in matchmaking, like playing fucking solo queue in CSGO? I swear to God, these guys are literally just like, they don't even log into they don't play the game. They just have the skin. They're never gonna use it.
But the most valuable item in all of CSGO is speculated to be another case-hardened weapon. The factory new Pattern 387 Blue Gem Karambit was last sold to a collector in 2016. Out of the nearly 1 billion items ever unboxed in CSGO, the factory new Blue Gem is the only one of its kind. Today, some traders appraise its value at $750,000. If you're not interested in dropping the value of a house on a bunch of pixels, then perhaps you'd rather put that money towards a 3-inch piece of paper. Before the age of virtual cosmetics, trading cards were the epitome of intrinsically worthless items that could potentially cost a fortune. Last year famously saw an explosion in the Pokemon trading card market. In December, a first edition shadowless holographic Charizard card sold for a record $369,000, one of only 122 copies in pristine condition. That record was broken 3 months later in February of this year when a Pikachu Illustrator card sold for $375,000. The promotional card was only awarded to winners of a 1998 Japanese art competition.
What?
Of the estimated 24 billion Pokemon cards in circulation, only about 40 Pikachu illustrators are known to exist. Magic the Gathering predates the Pokemon trading card game by 3 years, giving collectors a bit more time to salivate over the game's most exclusive finds. Magic's holy grail is the infamous Black Lotus, the single rarest card of the game's original release. Earlier this year, a signed Black Lotus from the game's alpha set sold at auction for more than $500,000. While the market for Magic and Pokemon cards have had around 25 years to develop, sports trading cards have spent the past century rising in value. In 1909, the American Tobacco Company was ready to release their T206 baseball card series, which they distributed in packs of cigarettes. However, prior to the sale, Pittsburgh Pirates shortstop Honus Wagner revoked the rights to his likeness, forcing the tobacco company to remove his cards from circulation. Due to the sudden retraction, as few as 50 Wagner cards were ever distributed to the public. By the 1930s, the T206 Wagner had already become the most expensive baseball card in the world, selling in 1933 for the present-day equivalent of $1,000. In 1991, one of 3 remaining mint-condition Wagners was acquired by hockey great Wayne Gretzky for nearly $500,000. In 2016, another mint Wagner was sold for $3.1 million, a record that stood until just last year. Currently, the most expensive baseball card.
Did anyone know that story about that fucking no-name baseball player from 100 years ago? Why does anyone care about that specific card?
Is a PSA Grade 9 Mickey Mantle.
How do you know
card,
that?
Which sold for $5.2 million this past January. However, after nearly a century of dominance in the card collecting market, baseball cards look to soon be surpassed by basketball cards in value. In April of this year, a 1 of 23 autographed LeBron James rookie card tied for the record of $5.2 million.
Dude, you are like a fry cook legend! Will you sign my spatula?
Autographs provide collectors with a much more personal touch to their prized possessions. The value of autographs vary wildly depending on its signee, but the most valuable ones typically belong to figures who are no longer capable of producing them. In 2017, an autographed copy of Albert Einstein's iconic tongue photo was sold for $125,000. In 2018, a baseball featuring 11 signatures from the sport's original Hall of Fame inductees sold for more than $600,000. Some autographs can derive their value from the macabre. On December 8, 1980, Mark David Chapman would receive an autograph from John Lennon moments before assassinating him. 30 years later, that autographed album would sell for $850,000. However, by far the most expensive autographs are forged out of time. The signature of 16th century poet William Shakespeare has only been identified on 6 surviving documents. Today, it's estimated that a Shakespeare autograph would sell for up to $5 million. The most expensive autograph ever sold belongs to George Washington, whose personal copy of the Constitution was purchased for nearly $10 million in 2012. Autographs are a form of memorabilia, objects and souvenirs prized for their close association with illustrious people and events. Sneakers have been one of the most popular forms of memorabilia to collect ever since the meteoric success of Nike.
Do you guys know like a sneakerhead? Because I know a few, and I guess for me the thing I'm like more confused about is you can't wear them, right? Like if you have these like super insane, you know, limited edition, you know, you cop like something really fucking rare, you can't wear them. So obviously, like, you know, you make a display, It's just about having the collection, but
Nike's Air
kinda
Jordan
sad.
brand in the 80s. In 2020, an original pair
can
of
wear them.
Jordans worn by Michael Jordan himself sold for $560,000.
There are actually a good amount of League players who are like sneakerheads, or like I don't know if they're sneakerheads, but they're definitely like interested in cool shoes.
Becoming the most expensive sneakers in the world. Of course, the decades-long supremacy of the Air Jordans have recently been challenged by Kanye West's Yeezy brand. And in April of this year, an original pair of Yeezys worn by Kanye at the 2008 Grammys sold for $1.8 million. Memorabilia from the most prestigious athletes and artists can fetch a
My
hefty
God.
price, but by far the most expensive memorabilia belongs to the whimsical world of cinema. Darth Vader's helmet from The Empire Strikes Back sold for just under $900,000 in 2019. Marilyn Monroe's iconic white dress from The 7-Year Itch sold for $4.6 million. But the most expensive memorabilia ever worn by a movie star may be Dorothy's ruby slippers from The Wizard of Oz. The most recognizable symbol from the most beloved movie of the 20th century was listed at a price of $6 million in 2018. Although costumes may embody iconic characters more so than any other type of memorabilia, vehicles
Goddamn.
end up edging them out in price.
Does that
James
count as being a
Bond's
sneakerhead?
Aston Martin DB5 from Goldfinger sold for $6.4 million. Possibly the most expensive piece of memorabilia ever sold was the General Lee from Dukes of Hazzard, selling for a whopping $9.9 million. When we come back, we'll take a look at what lies
Never
beyond
heard of that.
the 8-figure mark.
What is Dukes of Hazzard? Is it a movie?
And just a moment ago, here's what's happened. A fan somehow gets out of the infield area, comes out on the track, and is
What's a
trying to
TV
get
show?
Pat Kenseth's autograph.
Of average Joes to daydream about. A new Lamborghini Aventador will set you back around $800,000, with just over 1,000 units being produced each year. That price is about 10 times less than Lamborghini's most expensive model, the Veneno, only 12 of which were ever sold to the public.
Woo.
However, for the most elite car collectors, a typical Lambo might as well be a Toyota Corolla.
It's 7 o'clock in the morning, and Elon Musk anxiously waits for his golden payoff.
I expect to receive a car that I've just bought, which is called the McLaren F1.
In the 1990s, the McLaren F1 set the record for the fastest top speed reached by a production car, and has been prized by collectors ever since. Including special variants, only 71 McLaren F1s were ever sold to the public, and recent sales of the model are now approaching the $20 million mark. The most expensive supercar right now is the
Ooh.
ultra-rare Pagani Zonda HP Barchetta, listed at a price of $23.5.
What the fuck is his name, man? Pagani Zonda HP Barchetta. This shit looks out of a fucking sci-fi film, man. It's like it can travel through time. Could I get it, guys? Why is it so loud? It's actually obnoxious. Like it's literally one of those
Million.
small dick people
However,
who
the
like
title of the most
rev up their
expensive
cars
automobile
on
in the world
purpose to
belongs
make his
fellow
money. I fucking
Italian
hate
automaker
that.
Ferrari. In 2018, a 1963
So
Ferrari
annoying.
250 GTO sold for $70 million, truly showing that old money still reigns supreme in the automotive world. While car collectors have existed for over a century, stamp collectors date back even further. The first postage stamps were issued in the 1840s by the British government. In 1856, a shipment of stamps to British
I'll get a couple
Guyana
of those
was
scars.
delayed, forcing the postmaster to issue an emergency batch as a temporary replacement. The provisional stamps were then distributed and quietly forgotten, until 17 years later when a young boy discovered the unusual 1-cent magenta octagon on one of his uncle's old letters. The boy would end up selling the stamp to a collector for 6 shillings. That stamp would go on to become the only surviving copy of the British Guyana 1-cent magenta. Today it is worth over $9 million, and to the 60 million stamp collectors in the world, no other piece of postage is more valuable.
I zoned
If
out.
stamps are one of
I
the
didn't
oldest
understand.
sensations for collectors, coins may be the oldest. Evidence of coin collecting dates as far back as ancient Rome. One of
What
the
is
most
British
infamous
Guyana?
events in Roman history was the
They
assassination
made it
of
on a
Julius
ship when
Caesar.
only the
2
queen
years
could
after
make
usurping
stamps.
the throne,
Oh, okay.
Brutus had several coins minted to commemorate himself literally getting away with murder.
The British colony
In
that existed
2020,
briefly.
2,062 years after its creation, Brutus's gold coins sold for over $4 million. The most expensive coin ever sold happens to be another gold coin, the last gold coin ever minted by the US Treasury. In 1934, President Roosevelt issued an executive order outlawing gold coins from general circulation. The Treasury was ordered to destroy all 450,000 newly minted 1933 double eagles. However, a few dozen were illegally rescued and distributed to collectors. Over the
Whoa.
next several years, the federal government located, confiscated, and destroyed almost all of the remaining copies. Only one double eagle, acquired by King Farouk of Egypt, managed to evade apprehension.
Holy shit, how the fuck did it
Today,
make it
that
to
lone
Egypt?
coin survives as the only 1933 double eagle in private possession. In June of this year, the coin was sold for nearly $19 million. More than
No fucking way, dude. What the fuck? What is this? Hold on, I'll look this up. It's a gold coin with a denomination of $20. Its gold content of blah 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 ounces was worth $20 at the 1849 official price of 20. What? The coins are made from a 90% gold and 10% copper alloy. Damn, so it's like basically it's actually worth. Holy fuck. Wait, it actually continued to get printed until 1933. Whoa.
900,000 times its nominal value.
See anything you like?
Yeah, I'll give you $1.50 for this umbrella.
$1.50 for that? But it's an antique.
If you keep something in good condition for long enough, it will eventually be worth a fortune.
Don't trust
Antiques
Wikipedia.
provide a
Wikipedia is
treasure
like
trove
fucking
of rarity
always so
and have accounted
reliable.
for some of the most expensive collectibles ever sold. Action Comics #1 marked the beginning of the superhero genre in pop culture. After selling for just 10 cents a piece in 1938, a mint condition copy of the original Superman is now worth more than $3 million. In the 17th and 18th century, the Stradivari
Keeping the
family
virginity
built string
condition.
instruments which
Gonna
became
be worth a lot,
world-renowned
guys.
for their unmatched sound quality. In 2008, a Stradivarius cello sold for $20 million, becoming the most expensive musical instrument in the world. Leonardo da Vinci was the most recognizable figure of the 15th century, and he would end up writing what would eventually become the most expensive book in the world. In 1994, Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates purchased Leonardo's Codex Leicester for more
Holy
than $30
shit.
million.
It's Tyler 1.
Unofficially, the most
Bill
expensive
Gates.
antique ever sold was this 18th century Qing Dynasty vase, selling at auction for over $80 million.
Why?
It's at this point
Why?
where the line
Why?
between
Why are you
antique
spending
and
$83 million
artwork
on
starts
that
to blur.
vase? Why?
Approaching the 9-figure
Why?
mark, we are beginning to enter the highest echelon of collectability, fine art. For centuries, expensive
Oh my god, fine
artwork
art is the
has
dumbest
served
shit in the
as an
world.
enduring symbol of high-class society.
Fine art is
For
actually
those
the
who are so
dumbest shit in the
disgustingly
entire
wealthy,
world.
The concept of dollars and cents has practically lost all meaning. Fine art has often acted as the final frontier of what money can buy. Currently, Alberto Giacometti's Pointing Man is the world's most expensive statue.
That's the ugliest thing I've ever seen. It's so ugly. You couldn't pay me to put this in my house. It's cursed. It's gonna fucking come out and slit my throat. It's so ugly. It's so creepy. I actually hate
Selling
it.
to a collector for $141 million.
Wow,
If you
these
consider
people are
jewelry to
fucking
be art,
so
then the
stupid,
prices
man.
become even more staggering.
Oh my
The
god,
infamous
that's so
gold
ugly.
diamond necklace has been valued as high as $350 million, and is generally
at least that one
considered
doesn't-
to be the most expensive gem in the world.
At least it looks
However,
cool.
some sources claim that the title actually belongs to the Cullinan 1, the largest colorless diamond ever cut.
That's cool.
Part of the British royal family's scepter, it has been valued as high as $400 million. But that's still not as much as the most expensive privately owned
Jeff Bezos
painting,
could fart out
Leonardo
$400 million
da Vinci's
right now.
Salvator Mundi. In 2017, it sold to a collector for $450 million, and may quite possibly be the most expensive single item owned by any individual. Of course, the most expensive painting
It's
in the
so
world
ugly.
is another Leonardo da Vinci work, the Mona Lisa, the most famous painting in human history, a work of art so valuable that it defies private ownership. The Mona Lisa is technically property of the nation of France and resides on permanent display at the Louvre. It
I've
has
been there,
an
boys.
insured value of over $800
I've seen
million,
it, IRL.
equivalent to the GDP of Samoa. Beyond this point, we struggle to accurately appraise items. Anything more valuable starts to enter the realm of pricelessness. Certain items are deemed so anthropologically important that they transcend collectability and ownership. It's possible that ancient artifacts like the Rosetta Stone may be more valuable than the Mona Lisa, but we may never know if it really is. It's insightful to discover the point at which we stop pricing items. Based on what we know about how older objects continue to become significantly rarer and more expensive, then
Dude, should I just buy some like old ass fucking artifacts? Like not like one of those trolls that's like Beanie Babies are gonna be fucking so expensive, hopium. Actually, no, hopium. Literally like copium. Like people who collect like bobbleheads. What are those called? Funko Pops? And they think that they're gonna like, you know, like one day they're gonna strike it big. I'm talking like something like real substantial value, like a piece of art or something, or like, I don't know, some of these collector items. Should I just like fucking hibernate on that shit?
this 40,000-year-old flute made
Yeah,
out of a
NFTs,
mammoth
like, I'll
tusk
just,
should intuitively be one of the most valuable items in the world.
I'm talking like,
However, the mammoth flute has substantially less fanfare than a Stradivarius violin, despite the flute being 100 times older. This exception may reveal what exactly it is we find valuable about collecting rare items.
Welcome to the Batcave. This is the Guinness World Record Batman collection.
The act of collecting is far from rare. At least a third of Americans collect something. When I was a kid, I used to collect 1/64 scale die-cast NASCARs, and I can truly say that it was one of the most satisfying and rewarding hobbies I've ever participated in. But why exactly do so many of us find collecting so rewarding? The psychology of collecting is not very well understood, but our obsession with rarity may result from our brain's innate desire to seek out the extraordinary. The modern-day activity of collecting is largely a manifestation of foraging for food in prehistoric times. For our early ancestors, discovering novel and unique forms of sustenance meant a better chance at survival. Thus, our brains adapted to release dopamine whenever we are presented with new, extraordinary items.
oh dude,
Obtaining food is no longer the satisfying challenge
I get
that it once
dopamine every
was,
day.
and present-day collectors may be attempting to recreate the rush of discovering a new berry in the wilderness.
I also think it's about
The
social
subconscious
status, yeah.
desire to recapture our foraging roots may
Like-
be but a microcosm of a far greater desire to recapture our tribal roots. Today, we live in a very alienating society, a far cry from the tightly knit clans which our ancestors occupied. When we spend 400 million on a painting, or 9 million on a stamp, or 150,000 on a virtual gun, we are not just buying a rare item. In many ways, we are
Happens to me all
buying
the
into
time.
the community that comes with owning a rare item. The act of foraging in prehistoric
Wait,
times
hold on. This
was as
community
much of a
seems to be very similar all around. The community seems to be senior white people. That's yeah.
with owning a rare
Not
item.
a single
The act of
person
foraging
outlier in this
prehistoric
community
times
here.
was as much of a social event as it was a day-to-day task. It provided people with constant opportunities to demonstrate their usefulness towards their peers. Foraging allowed people to feel valued by the community around them. We now live in an era where the average person has arguably never felt less valued. For many, joining a niche subculture is their only
That's pretty actually sad. But by the way, can you imagine being a part of a fan club for a stamp? Why would you want to be a part of the fan club for a stamp, dude?
way to rekindle feelings of esteem and belonging. For
That's like being a
collectors, it's
CLG
matter of
fan.
finding a unified culture, one which truly represents their ideals and motivations. This may help justify why a 400-year-old violin is so much more desirable than a 40,000-year-old flute. When an item becomes too old, it loses the cultural relevance that makes it so compelling to us. People don't necessarily pay 9 figures on an original Da Vinci because it's centuries old or aesthetically pleasing. What they are truly paying for is a slice of what Da Vinci represents. They want to attach themselves to the prestige that Leonardo da Vinci's name carries.
Yes,
People
that's
admire
true.
Da Vinci, Michael Jordan, Superman. Maybe if we own an iconic piece of them, we can be admired too.
Yes,
While the
exactly.
impulse to collect once helped us gather survival resources, today it may be helping us gather social resources, which many are now finding more scarce than food, water, and shelter.
Oh, that's me all
For
day,
some,
boys.
collecting rarities
But with you
is
guys,
the first step in
you guys are here with
connecting
me.
with others and engaging with an exclusive culture. The rest of us may consider it a waste of money, but for certain collectors, belonging to something meaningful is worth every penny. In addition to belonging, collecting may be attempting to account for another aspect many find sorely lacking from modern society: autonomy. With each passing year, the world around us gets more complex, more chaotic, and more unpredictable. You can't go a few moments without discovering some new threat that you didn't even realize it was possible to worry about. After a while, it all starts to become overwhelming, and most of us end up feeling more and more like riders on the storm. Collecting may be one of our most effective psychological mechanisms at reclaiming autonomy in the face of chaos and uncertainty. Cultivating order out of so many disparate objects can help anchor us to a more stable state of mind. In this sense, collecting may serve as a therapeutic activity, especially for those who've experienced trauma. It's no wonder why the recent explosion in collecting occurred when most of us were in lockdown, a period when many had never felt more uncertain and isolated. No matter the reason we collect rare items, it's clear that many of us are far better off because of it. And if the past year has shown us anything, it's that collecting isn't going away anytime soon. In the time I've been working on this video, several of its records have already become outdated. The future of collecting is more exciting than ever before.
I think it's time to...
Following the advent of cryptocurrency and digital assets,
non-fungible
tokens have spawned a whole new genre of collectibles. In June of 2017, creative studio Larva Labs released a limited supply of 10,000 unique CryptoPunks for free on the Ethereum network. Each punk was algorithmically generated to have one or more distinct features, with about 100 spawning with a special classification of zombie, ape, or the rarest of all, alien. In March of this year, one of the 9 alien CryptoPunks sold for $7.6 million.
Oh my
becoming the most
god!
expensive NFT ever sold. One day later, digital artist Beeple would shatter that record with his composition Everydays, a collage of all 5,000 images that he published over a time span dating back to May 2007. The Everydays NFT was purchased for over $69 million, about 8% the value of the Mona Lisa. A hell of a price to pay for a bunch of worthless pixels.
I think I literally just lost faith in humanity. I think I did. You don't own anything. When you buy the fucking car or the painting, you own the painting. You own pixels that someone just... I mean, I guess in a sense it's the same as buying a CSGO skin for $69 million. Nice. Okay, that was a good video. That's fun. I was done eating 10 minutes into the video, but then I ended up finishing it because it was a really fun video to watch. Actually, it was really nice.